All right, so in this video, what we're going to do is we want to be able to read from this text file. So we've got some different options here. We've got class name, we've got credit hours, and we've got the semester in which that class is offered. And what we want to do is be able to read in this file and just print out particular elements from that file. In other words, I just want to get at the 3 or the spring or something along those lines. So let's just kind of walk through that and see how we're going to do it. So what we're going to do then is we're going to set up the main, because that's good practice. Remember, the main is a function that we're going to write. That is our entry and exit point from our program. And we're going to, just very simply, we're going to display courses here. Call a method called display courses, which we don't currently have set up. And we're going to set up this display courses. And we are good to go. All right, so now we've got kind of our core set up. So in display courses, we want to, first of all, we need to read all of these records in, all these line items in. So we will do that. We've done that in prior videos. I'm going to say read file is equal to open, and we're going to call courses.txt, and we're going to read from those. Okay. And then we're going to write courses equals, and we're going to read those lines in. First we opened up the file, now we're going to read all of those items into an array, and that array is courses, and then we have to be good programmers and close out our connection to our text file because we no longer need that connection. We have all of the line items in courses. So now we should be good to go there, and just to test myself to make sure I've done everything correctly so far, that way I don't have to troubleshoot a lot of code. I can just kind of do it bite-sized at a time. I'm going to print out courses and make sure that this is doing what I expected it to do. So I'm going to clear my screen, and then I'm going to type in Python course offerings.py. And I am in fact getting an array with 3 strings in it, separated by the comma. So I have 3 strings that have in this data from my text file, and I also have that new line character and 1 big array. So that's definitely a start in the right direction. That part is working. So now what I'm going to do is I want to read through each line item and print out each line item one at a time. So for course in courses, so loop through my array and print out each element from that array. So if I type in print course, then I should see each of these strings printed with the new line character. So let's see if that happens. So make sure I save it, and I'm going to run it again, use my arrow up key, which will cycle through things I've already typed in. And sure enough, each of those strings is being printed to the console, including the new line character. So I'm getting a break in between, and recognize that this is all coming in as one long string. And it's kind of a human convention that we agree. The computer doesn't understand that the commas are separating individual pieces of data. That's just kind of our agreement that this is called a CSV, a comma separated file, where all of our elements are separated by commas. Humans, it's kind of a human convention. You could separate each of these data elements with semicolons or tabs, but in this case, we're using comma separated files. And so each of these data fields is separated with a comma. And so right now we just have a string, which means I don't really have a way to get at each individual piece. I can't get at that credit hours separately. So that's our next task. All right, so I'm going to delete this because I don't really need it anymore. I know it works. And I think the first thing I want to do is get rid of that line break. So we will use what we used in our last video. I'm going to type in something called new line equals. I'm going to take that string and I'm going to strip it. I use split. That's on down the line. We're going to use strip. In one of our last videos, we used rstrip, which removes any of the non-printing characters from the right-hand side of the string. You can use lstrip, which does the same thing for the left side of the string. I'm going to use just the strip, which will take care of both sides, so right and left, which in this case we really don't have a left or left and right, we just have the right, but I'm just showing you different methods that are available. So we're going to use that, and we're going to then print out new line. I always forget my parentheses, and let's see if that works. So get rid of my pop-up there and print that out. Okay, so now we got rid of that new line character. Okay, so we're progressing forward line by line. So the next thing then is to get at each of these elements. I'm going to use Temp Array. This is a temporary array that I'm writing. So I'm kind of alluding to the fact that I'm going to use an array here. So I'm going to take that new line that we just got, so this line right here, and I'm going to use dot split, which is going to split up this line into whatever I give as the separator. So I want to split this string into each of its individual elements and telling the compiler that, or the interpreter, that whatever is that we're using this comma as our separator. And so this should therefore be one element of an array. This is the next element of the array, or array element number 1, or array element number 2, and all of that is going to go into my temp array. And so, assuming I did this correctly then, first of all, I should be able to print out temp array, and let's see that working. So now if I run the code, sure enough, I can see that that string was now converted into an array, so I can get at each element individually if I need to. So obviously this is array element 0, 1, and 2. And so maybe now, instead of printing out the array, and I wonder if you would agree with me, some of you are printing out the array for your output, some of our assignments. And this is what outputs when we print out the array itself. And I would say that from a user standpoint, that's kind of cryptic and confusing and uncomfortable. So we want to get at each element and print out the element without using just printing out that whole array. That's kind of sloppy. So we want to get at each individual piece. So instead of printing out the whole array, let's print out certain elements. In other words, now I should be able to print out, let's do the course number and the semester that is offered in. So I'm just going to do temp, and that would be element 2. So now I should be able to get at individual pieces of that string. And oh, I called it temp array. So you got to call it by the right thing. Sorry about that. And now when I run it, I should be able to get at individual pieces. And sure enough, there is just the course and the semester in which it's offered. So this is a way for us to read these text files in, being read in as a string. Then we use the strip method to get rid of the new line character. And then we use the split method to break this string into a temporary array or an array, whatever you want to do, so that I can get at each individual piece. And now I can do something with each individual piece just like I would with an array. So hopefully that helps you with reading in text files.